Alright, here is the video I promised you earlier today. We're going to start learning how to simplify rational expressions. So on your note paper, I want you to try problems 1 through 6 on your own. Pause the video. When you finish 1 through 6, come back and see if you got them correct. Alright, here is problems 1 through 6. Number 1 is negative 6x over 7. Number 2 is 1 over r. Number 3 is 4p over 7. Number 4 is 16n. Number 5 is negative 5n over 2. And number 6 is 1 over 2n squared. Hopefully you did all right. So all you're doing is simplifying the numbers, reducing the fraction, and then with the exponents you're subtracting the exponents and making sure all the exponents are positive. Alright, let's look at number 7. On number 7, we have 2r minus 4 over r minus 2. We want to factor the numerator, and so what we need to factor out is a 2. So if we factor out a 2, we have to multiply it by r minus 2. The denominator will not factor. Notice we have an r minus 2 in the numerator and an r minus 2 in the denominator. You want to cancel both of those, and your final answer for number 7 is 2. Let's look at number 8. Number 8, we have 45 over 10a minus 10. We want to factor out a 10 from the denominator. So we take out a 10, we have to multiply it by a minus 1. Now 5 goes into 45 and 10. 45 divided by 5 is 9. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So we're left with 9 over 2 times a minus 1. And that's your final answer. Make sure not to multiply these back together. We just want to leave them in their factored form. Let's look at number 9. On number 9, we need to factor out a 3x from the denominator. So if we take out a 3x, we need to multiply it by x minus 4. Because 3x times x is 3x squared, and 3x times negative 4 is negative 12x. Now we can cancel x minus 4 in the numerator and the denominator. Now if you cancel everything out in the numerator or the denominator, it's not 0, it's 1. So this becomes 1 over 3x. Alright, let's look at number 11. It's got a trinomial. It's got a trinomial in the denominator. The numerator will not factor, but the denominator will factor into 2 binomials. And because the coefficient of the squared term is 1, we know that we need a v in both of the first positions. So we need 2 numbers that multiply together to be 25 and add together to be negative 10. So it's going to be minus 5, minus 5. Now v minus 5 over v minus 5, that cancels. We can only cancel 1 with 1. Since we still have 1 left in the denominator, this becomes 1 over v minus 5. Let's turn the paper over and look at number 14. In 14, we have two trinomials. So they both have a leading coefficient of 1. So we know that when we make our binomials, we need a v in the first spot in all of our binomials. Now, since both of these are minus, we're going to need a plus and a minus. Same on the bottom. Since both of these are minus, we're going to need a plus and a minus on the bottom. So for the numerator, we need two numbers that have a product of negative 30 and a sum of negative 7. So we need 3 and negative 10. So 3 and negative 10. In the denominator, we need two numbers that have a product of negative 24 and a sum of negative 5. So that's going to be 3 and negative 8. Now v plus 3 cancels with v plus 3, and you're left with v minus 10 over v minus 8. Now let's look at 17. It's a trinomial over a binomial. And we're going to need to factor both of these. So the trinomial is going to factor as two binomials. And the denominator, because it's the difference of two squares, it's going to factor as b plus 7 times b minus 7. Notice the square root of 49 is 7, and that's where I got the 7s from. In the numerator, we need two numbers that have a, we know we need a b and a b here because the coefficient of our leading term is 1. Now we need two numbers that have a product of negative 28 and a sum of positive 3. So that's going to be 7 and negative 4. So plus 7 minus 4. So we can cancel b plus 7 in the numerator and the denominator, which leaves us with b minus 4 over b minus 7. Try number 20 on your own. Pause the video and come back in just a minute when you're finished and see if you got it right. Alright, number 20, we need to factor the numerator and the denominator. So this is going to be v minus 7 times v plus 2 over v plus 2 times v plus 2. So the v plus 2's will cancel, and you're left with v minus 7 over v plus 2. Now, if every single factor cancels, you would be left with 1 over 1, which would be equal to 1. All right, let's look at number 21. Number 21, we have 6v cubed plus 42v squared over 2v squared plus 26v plus 84. So, in the numerator, we need to factor out a 6v squared. And if we factor out a 6v squared, we have to multiply it by v plus 7. In the denominator, we need to factor out a 2. Which means we need to multiply 2 by v squared plus 13v plus 42. Now we still have to factor this trinomial in the denominator. So let's keep the, and 6 divided by 2 is 3, so let's go ahead and fix that. 2 goes into 6 3 times, 2 goes into 2 once, so the numerator becomes 3 v squared times v plus 7. The denominator, we need two binomials. both with v in the first spot. Because these are both plus, we need plus in both of these. So two numbers that multiply together to be 84 and multiply together to be 42 and add together to be 13. So we need 6 times 7, which is 42, and 6 plus 7, which is 13. So we can cancel v plus 7, and we are left with 3v squared over v plus 6. Let's look at number 22. Number 22, we need to start in the numerator by factoring out an x, which means we need to multiply that by x squared minus x minus 42. In the denominator, we need to factor out a 2. So if we take out a 2, we have to multiply that by x squared minus 10x plus 21. Now we need to factor this binomial and this binomial. So we're going to have an x and 2 binomials in the numerator, and then a 2 and 2 binomials in the denominator. So we know we need an x in the first spot in each binomial because the coefficient of the squared terms are both 1. These are both minus, so we need a plus and a minus in the numerator. And this is a minus and a plus, so we need two minus. We need a minus and a minus. So two numbers that multiply together to be negative 42 and add to be negative 1 would be negative 7 and positive 6. So 6 times negative 7 is negative 42. 6 plus negative 7 is negative 1. In the denominator, we need two numbers that multiply together to be 21 and add together to be negative 10. So that would be negative 7 times negative 3 is positive 21, and negative 7 minus 3 is negative 10. Now we can cancel x minus 7 in the numerator and the denominator, and our final answer is x times x plus 6 divided by 2 times x minus 3. Now let's look at number 25. Number 25, we have two trinomials. In the numerator, this is going to factor to two binomials. We know we need an x in the first spot in both of them. Because the signs are different, we got plus and minus. We're going to need a plus and a minus here. So two numbers that multiply together to be negative 80 and add together to be positive 2 are negative 8 and positive 10. 10 times negative 8 is negative 80, and 10 plus negative 8 is a positive 2. In the denominator, we can factor out a 2x. We have to multiply that by what's left over, which is x squared minus 12x plus 32. And then we need to factor this trinomial before we can cancel. So that trinomial will factor as two binomials. We know we need an x in the first spot on both binomials because the leading coefficient is 1. Because this is minus and that's plus, we know that we need minus and minus. So two numbers that multiply together to be positive 32 and add together to be negative 12. That would be negative 8 and negative 4. Negative 8 times negative 4 is positive 32, and negative 8 minus 4 is negative 12. So now we can cancel x minus 8 in the numerator and the denominator, and we're left with x plus 10 over 2x times x minus 4. Again, leave all your answers in their factored form. Let me talk about some common mistakes, and then you will be off and ready to go. So let's look at x plus 4 over x minus 4. This cannot be reduced. On the other hand, if you have 4 minus x over x minus 4, this can be reduced. Because in the denominator, we can factor out a negative 1, and if we multiply it by 4 minus x, notice that negative 1 times 4 is negative 4, and negative 1 times negative x is positive x. So now we can cancel out 4 minus x, which leaves us with 1 over negative 1, which is equal to negative 1. So x plus 4 over x minus 4 cannot reduce, but 4 minus x over x minus 4 can be reduced. So if the variables and the numbers are the same, but you have a plus and minus, it can't be reduced. But if they're both minus and the order is switched, then it can be reduced. So get these notes down. Tomorrow we'll work on some problems. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.